Hello, I'm Bob Jeffrey, CEO and Chairman of JWT. Welcome to the latest episode of Worldmakers. We're here with Arianna Huffington, who, in a very inspiring way, created the Huffington Post. Arianna, great to have you here.
Great to be with you, Bob.
As I met you back in the early days of the Huffington Post, we did a lot of interesting work together on behalf of clients. But before I even met you in person, I read your biography of Picasso. I see a lot of similarity there when you think about the disruption of Picasso in the art world and obviously the major impact you've had in the media world.
Well, you know, it's very interesting. If you look at the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, you know, Picasso captured that spirit. And we see with new media, and the Huffington Post is an expression of new media, you know, the disruption of traditional media, of traditional ways of consuming news and information. At the heart of the Huffington Post is engagement. And if you think of it, that's really the main shift in how consumers consume news. will.i.am actually put it best when he said that we used to consume news sitting on the couch. And now we consume news galloping on a horse. We don't just take it in, we share it, we pass it on. And that viral, social nature of news is really what moved me to want to create the Huffington Post. It's not just the elites that have opinions. Many people in the world do.
So I think what's great about what you said is when I think back on the days when we first met, we were trying to get a lot of our clients engaged with the Huffington Post because I think at that point clients really weren't aware of what you're talking about. So we were trying to get the clients to understand that they were no longer in control of the conversation from a brand point of view. The consumers were in control. They could opt in, they could opt out, they could decide when to watch TV, obviously because of DVR and programming. And now with mobile, it's actually, you know, gotten to a whole other level.
Brands need to realize that the days when they could buy a fabulous glossy ad in a magazine and basically then disappear are over. They need to engage with their customers.
Right.
And as you say, it's not just about creating your own site, because if you create your own beautiful site and nobody comes,
what good is it?
You know, what good is it?
You have now become somebody that's a go-to person in the political world. In a way, the Huffington Post has had a major impact on the debate going on in the U.S. Would you agree with that? Or?
Well, I feel that we have defined a certain political position that we call beyond left and right, by which I mean
beyond left and right,
yes,
I like that.
Because many in the media tend to kind of reflexively look at every issue through the right-left lens, and that's just very obsolete.
Narrow.
You know, if you look at a major issue right now, the fate of the middle class, the fact that we are dealing with a crisis of downward mobility, you know, 100 million people are worse off now than their parents were at a similar age. Kids graduating from college who can't find jobs, all these big problems. These are not right-left problems.
I agree. I mean, what's interesting is, I don't know, did you watch the Super Bowl on Sunday?
Yes.
I mean, Sunday night, I concluded my favorite commercial was the Clint Eastwood spot, because I think, in my mind, that was a very non-political message, but I was shocked how on I think it was Monday, where Karl Rove jumped all over it. But I think the fact that, I think it really resonated with people in a way that you're saying the same thing, because it's been in the media for over a week now. Saturday Night Live did several skits with it. And I think it shows the power of doing something that really falls outside of the narrow definitions of left versus right, Democrat versus Republican.
Yes, and also because it had a very upbeat, optimistic message, which again is very American. And one of the things that is central editorially to the Huffington Post is putting the spotlight on what is working. You know, we cover all the dysfunctions, trust me, but we also have a dedicated section, for example, that we call the good news section.
I noticed that. That's impressive.
It only has good news, and you know, people love it.
Let's talk about the goodwill side of it, because what I noticed, it's not enough to just do the traditional marketing. We need to be innovative with the communications, but part of that innovation is really social value, cause marketing, and not doing it in a separate way, but really integrated in terms of what the platform and the values of not just the brand, but actually the company. I mean, what's your perspective on that?
We think that's going to be the future. We really believe that every brand is going to be identified with some values, some cause that is integrated with who they are. It's not going to be what you call good washing, meaning, you know, that you take a cause and you kind of put it like the icing on the cake, but you want it baked into what the company does in a very organic, authentic way. Authenticity is pretty key when it comes to new media. And I really believe that's going to be central to everything a brand does.
So one last question. You have an audience of at least 10,000 people from JWT around the world watching this interview. And what most of them are really eager for is how do they innovate? How do they get inspired? You know, you're a great story behind that. If you had to leave them with one last thought about what you've been able to do in your own life, but also with the Huffington Post, what do you think would be the most revealing piece of advice you would give anybody? Because we have so many young people around the world. We're a business about young talent trying to pioneer. What would you tell them?
I think the greatest innovations in the future are going to be around a paradox. The paradox that as billions more people become connected to the internet, we are all going to become obsessed with disconnecting. And we want to be at the forefront of that. We want to be at the forefront of disconnecting from technology for a period of time every day in order to connect with ourselves, because that's the ultimate source of wisdom. And that may sound paradoxical, coming from somebody who makes a living connecting. But it's very important for us to learn to disconnect.
But I love what you said about paradox, because I think that's so true about any kind of innovation. But anyway, this is great. It's inspiring as usual, and thank you, Arianna, for making the time for Worldmakers, and thank you for spending the time with Worldmakers.